January 4th was when I had first purchased Tarkov. It was right after the drops event for Christmas, and I remember seeing someone post on Twitter, and they're like, yeah, thanks so-and-so streamer for the 10 Bitcoin I got from your drops. And this is back when Bitcoin was like $50,000 for one.
Yeah.
And I was like, no shot, Tarkov is giving away cryptocurrency for Twitch drops. This person just got $500,000 for watching Twitch, like sign me up. And so I immediately went onto Twitch, started watching something. I quickly found out that Bitcoin is an in-game item. They weren't actually giving away cryptocurrency. But yeah, it got me to watch the game. And
Hey, she's a beauty.
Welcome to Tarkov, a podcast for content creators to come on and share their stories, experiences, and advice. And today I'm super excited to have SheefGG. Welcome.
All right, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time to do this. Really appreciate it. So the way we start things off, 3 random questions. So are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right. So you're going to Taco Star. What are you ordering?
Ooh, from Taco Star, I would probably go with a quesadilla, a steak quesadilla, and a taco.
All right. There we go. You can live in any state. Where are you living?
Colorado.
All right. And then what movie are you stopping to watch if it's on TV and you're just going to sit there and watch the whole thing?
Castaway.
All right, there we go. All right, done. So welcome to the pod. First thing I got to ask you is, like, how's the Nissan holding up? I saw that you bought it a couple of years ago, right? It was your first car in like 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, I'm loving it. Yeah,
Nice.
super comfortable ride. I don't drive a whole lot. Not, working from home, it works out that way. But yeah, anytime I do, it's super comfortable.
Excellent. All right. So what did you do before you found the go live button? What's your background?
So I was a occupational therapist, and so I would work with disabled senior citizens on their mental and physical health wellness. And then prior to that, I was in law school.
Oh, wow. Holy cow. Bit of a change. And now you play games.
Yeah, pretty drastic. And so whenever I was studying for law school, I worked that job that I just mentioned.
Yeah.
And then ended up winning a tournament and got to go to Paris for it. And so it was, it led me back to gaming. And so I ended up streaming, and then I needed, since the stream was starting out at just a beginner level, I needed a job that could pay my bills.
Yep.
And so I went back to my old day job.
Oh, cool. All right. So where did video games start for you?
Oh, I was like 3 years old, and my sister by my side reading me the instructions to the game, and she'd watch me play. And she still swears to this day that it wasn't one of those like, oh, your controller's plugged in, wink, wink. She just said she liked watching me play more than playing herself.
Yeah.
And so, little did I know, little did she know, she was actually like training me to play in front of an audience from a very young age.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, 3 years old.
That's awesome. Yeah, that trick about, you're really playing. I did that to my kids playing Lego Star Wars. It's like they're moving a controller everywhere and they're thinking they're having a good old time. But yeah, it's just, you got to do that sometimes.
Yep, I did it to my younger brother, and I've done it to my nephews, and so yeah.
So now, over the years, what are some of your favorite games that stick out?
Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, I think, is that classic for me. That was like a big wow moment where, when you first go into Hyrule Field after talking to the annoying owl, and you just see the open world-esque type thing. It was the first jaw-dropping moment. I'm like, wow, this is crazy cool. And then Lost Planet was that, and Old School RuneScape were like my first 2 online multiplayer games. Lost Planet for the Xbox, and then Old School RuneScape on PC. And that was whenever I got to experience playing with people from all across the world, and that was just mind-blowing to me back then. It still is to this day, honestly. But and then Tarkov, of course, that one, and PuBG, I'd say are like the most defining video games for me personally.
All right. And now, you just mentioned you got to go to Paris to play in a video game tournament.
Yeah.
What was that?
That was for the Oris Open global event back in 2018 or 2019. And I competed professionally as a hobby whenever I was studying for law school. So I was playing PuBG a lot and met some people in Discord, in one of the servers that were like looking for group for higher ranks. And they were in the comp scene. They invited me to play a couple tournaments, and I fell in love with it. I like competing in general, and so it worked out well and was a great time killer. And so I would compete and then study for school. And then when I went to law school, I stopped competing. I hadn't played in probably like 3 months, except for like a random hour here and there. And one of my old duos, Adam, he hit me up and was like, "Hey, there's a duos tournament this weekend. It's 4,400 applicants. It's a wonky rule set. We may or may not do well. We'll see. But if you want to play in it, we can." And it was the weekend that I think I was out in Boston. I think it was the weekend that the Bruins made it to the Stanley Cup, and so like the whole city shut down in celebration. Yeah. When Boston sports do well, they celebrate.
Yes.
And so the school let us out that Friday. We already had that Monday off, so it was an extended weekend. I was like, sure, perfect timing for the tournament, and we ended up placing fourth, and first place went out to Seattle. Okay. And the first place team ended up deciding to go to a Twitch Rivals event instead. The second place team were not legitimate players. They were cheaters, and so they got disqualified. Yeah, one of them caught a ban and got disqualified. And then the third place team wasn't even from our region, so they shouldn't have been competing in that tournament. They should have they competed in their own. And so being the fourth place team, runner-up, we got sent out to Seattle.
No way.
And in Seattle, there's 6 different teams, and the first place team was going to make it out to Paris and got the prize pool. It was like $2,000 each. And the day one, we played really well. We went in and just smoked our opponents. We were up by quite a lot, gave us a big head. We went into day two a little confident, a little overconfident, and borderline cocky, and we got our butts handed to us. Going into the final game, we were in third place, and so it was a make or break moment in that final game. We needed to win it. We needed to kill pretty much everyone in the lobby, and the first place team couldn't score any points. And we ended up doing just that. Oh, wow. We made a crazy comeback that sent us out to Paris for the global event. It was 9 days out to Paris, and there was Taiwan, China, Paris, Germany, and South Korea, and then the US. And we ended up, we did well in that one throughout the tournament. We were very consistent, second and third place pretty much every single game. The German team absolutely slayed out. They took first 4 different times and placed high every other game as well. And so going into the final game of that, they were up 20 or so points, which is a crazy amount, because I think the highest amount someone had scored in one game on that tournament was 12 at that point. And so being up 20 was, that's a lot. And so going into that final game, my teammate and I, Adam, we were like, okay, we can either we were in second place, and we were like, okay, we could either just play it safe and maintain our second place lead, because from second to third, it's a good chunk of change. And if the third place team does well, they take second from us. And so we'd either play it safe and maintain our second place, or we could just go all out and push for that first. And I mean, it would have to be a win, a lobby wipe, and the first place team can't score any points again. And we ended up deciding to go all out and risk it for the biscuit. We ended up winning it. We won by 1 kill's worth of points, and got a large chunk of change. That trip out to Paris for 9 days kind of made me think of, like, it was hard to focus back in school, going back to Boston and going straight back into studying and everything. I was like, am I doing the right thing? Like, I wouldn't mind trying to travel the world and play video games for a living. That'd be pretty cool for a bit. So I talked to my dean, and she was super supportive with it. She basically said that you have a year-long student leave if you want. As long as you come back within the year, you will leave off right where you were. So finish out this year, nice. And if it works out for you, perfect. If it doesn't, come back within the year, and you get all your student loans, or not student loans, but grants, scholarships, and all the classes that you had completed will still be there. They'll be completed. And so I was like, okay, not a whole lot of risk, and just a little bit of time off. And so that with the Paris winnings and the Seattle winnings, I was able to focus on that. and my parents were super supportive. My younger brother, he really pushed for it. So I went into competing. That lasted for about 3 months.
Yeah.
3.5 months. And then unfortunately PUBG dropped the ball. Since then they've picked it back up,
Right.
and there's been a lot of support for the orgs, but they dropped the ball, and a lot of the orgs have backed out. And so the consistent paychecks backed out too.
Yeah.
Without having an org backing the pro players, you were solely relying on tournament winnings, which is scary, right?
Yeah.
Not an ideal situation to be in. And so I was like, okay, I need to pay the bills, but I still have time off. Like, what do I do? So I was like, I could try streaming. I played in front of a large audience,
Right.
and I worked as a caster and a desk analyst for First Blood during my time that I was competing. So I was like, okay, I could, talk in front of a camera and in
Right.
front of an audience. I think I could try streaming. So I turned on the stream for the first time, like seriously, to attempt it as a career, January 4th of 2020.
Oh, wow.
And within the first few months, it started to pick up some steam, and I still remember calling my mom and being like, "Mom, I had 10 people hanging out watching last night." She was one of them, and so
Yeah.
she was definitely still is super supportive, but it ended up taking off, and I never really looked back.
Wow.
And so, yeah, years later, we're still doing it full time.
That's amazing. Now, how was your experience in Boston? Did you enjoy living there?
Oh, I love Boston. The cost of living was a little much for the quality.
Yeah.
But the food, man, it is just so good. And the history of the place is awesome as well.
Yeah.
That's something you just don't get really anywhere else. Some places obviously,
Right.
but Boston, the history and the food were just so good.
Yeah.
The cost of living though is not as good.
No, absolutely. So now, do you miss living out on the East Coast?
I miss my friends out there,
Yeah.
and I miss the food. So I moved to Colorado after Boston, and Colorado's not really known for its food. It's a bunch of chains,
Yeah.
and there's some good mom and pop shops and stuff like that, but it's just not the same quality of food.
Yeah.
And then recently moved back to Oklahoma, which is not as good as food as Colorado. So, but there are some really good mom and pop shops here, and that's, can't really beat that.
No.
But yeah, I definitely miss the food in Boston and the friends.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't beat finding a good hole in the wall restaurant, Those are the best finds. You want to keep them secret. It's like, yeah, that's my spot.
Yep.
And now when you were in Boston, did you get converted to be a Bruins fan or Celtics or?
Yeah, so I've moved around a lot in my life, and I always like cheering for the home team.
Yeah.
And I usually cheer for the underdogs, and Boston sports are usually not underdogs.
Right.
They've got some serious sports teams, but the thing that sold me on Boston sports was the city itself,
Yeah.
the people and the passion that goes with the sports teams. It's electrifying,
Yeah.
and it's hard not to be a fan when you live there and their sports teams do well, and everyone. I mean, this whole city shuts down. Like the subway's packed with people partying. they like it's something else.
Yeah.
It's something else.
Absolutely. So now, when you said you found the go live button, you started out with, you're playing PUBG. How long did you stream for PUBG, or did you also mix in other games that early year?
So I had streamed a little bit here and there in PUBG. It was mainly for like a Twitch Rivals event or scrims for our coaches to watch, so we'd have something to VOD review. It wasn't like I'm going to stream to make it a career, but it was rather just so we have stuff to review for our teamwork and trying to become better as a team.
Oh.
But whenever I first started streaming, it was Tarkov. January 4th was when I had first purchased Tarkov. It was right after the drops event for Christmas, and I remember seeing someone post on Twitter, and they're like, "Yeah, thanks so and so streamer for the 10 Bitcoin I got from your drops." And this is back when Bitcoin was like $50,000 for one.
Yeah.
And I was like, "No shot! Tarkov is giving away cryptocurrency for Twitch drops. This person just got $500,000 for watching Twitch. Like, sign me up!" And so I immediately went onto Twitch, started watching something. I quickly found out that Bitcoin is an in-game item. They weren't actually giving away cryptocurrency. But yeah, it got me to watch the game, and I remember he was playing Interchange, and he was up in the rafters, and he was fighting a 5-man, and he killed 2 of them without them noticing, and then the other 3 noticing. It's so immersive, and I was like, this map looks awesome. And, being a mall, I was like, I've seen this, right? I've been in malls before. And so I was like, this would be cool. I want to try this out. And so I purchased the game, and I had that Friday and that Monday off from work. I got it on Thursday, and dude, the amount of time I put in that weekend on that game, I was like, yeah, this game is for me. This is checks all the boxes for me.
Yeah, there's
And
no other game like it.
Never looked back. Yeah. Yeah, it's ruined other games for me. I
Exactly.
have a hard like yesterday when the servers were down for a bit. I was like, I don't feel like playing any other video game right now. I want to play Tarkov.
Yeah.
And so they just don't give me the same sense of satisfaction.
Yeah, 100%. Like my Steam library keeps growing, and I just keep I keep looking for one that scratches that itch like Tarkov, but it doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So now, when you started to go live, what were some of the, harder things about hitting that go live button once you started being, have focused on it and having a schedule and everything?
I mean, that's a good question. I loved it so much. There wasn't a lot of like super challenging things other than sacrificing some IRL time, like with friends and family. I mean, I worked a day job 8 to 5 a.m. Or 8 to 5 p.m. 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then as soon as I got off, I'd come home and turn the stream on. And then I'd stream until I was too tired and then go to sleep and wake up, rinse and repeat that. I'd work Monday through Friday. So the weekends I had a little bit extra time, but I just did longer streams.
Yeah.
And so I was really committed to making it work. And I think the hardest thing with that was sacrificing the time with friends and family.
Yeah.
But I loved it so much that it was really easy to throw myself in. And I'm much more of a just an all-out guy. Like if I try to do something, I really, really go for it.
Yeah.
And streaming was no different.
Nice. And now, when did you notice that was it just a gradual increase in viewership, or were there a couple of moments along the way that, happened that you realized I can take this as a career?
It was a gradual growth. So I streamed for 675 days in a row.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I didn't take any days off. I was going to go for that number one amount of days in a row streamed. But the person that's in first, I think, is still streaming. The record is still growing to this day.
Crazy.
It's like over 3,000 days in a row now. And so without knowing an end date in sight, I was like, okay, maybe not the plan.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a gradual growth. I think the biggest moment where I was like, okay, this is possible was roughly 3 months in. I think Gingy raided me.
Yeah.
And then shortly after Pestily raided me, and then shortly after Lvndmark raided me, and then shortly after, this large streamer and this large streamer and this large streamer. And so there was like a week and a half in a row where I just got so lucky with the amount of people that showed support my way.
Yeah.
That I was like, okay, the growth is there, and I could do this.
Yeah. Wow. And now nothing really prepares you for that raid experience when somebody comes along and they drop their, giant mansion into your 1-bedroom apartment.
Yeah, no, my heart was racing. It's, going out of my chest. Yeah, nothing really that can prepare you for it. I would say I had a little bit of an elevator pitch, if you will, about myself, like my name and what I'm into and who I was as a streamer. And it wasn't very long, but just something to where whenever they did raid, their viewers got a chance to know me in the first 15, 20 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, since you, found Tarkov, streaming Tarkov, have you been a part of those 12-hour drops or the 24-hour stream drops?
Yes, a few times now. And so the first year that they did the drops whenever I was streaming, I wasn't a part of that. I was, still growing. Yeah. And ever since then, I think I've done 3 or 4 now.
And how tiring are those 24-hour streams?
Now that I've gotten a little older, extremely tiring. For the first 2, I could handle pretty easily. Yeah. Now the 24-hour streams, man, they wreck me for like a few days after. And so the 12-hour streams, the last drops they did, it was split in 2 different 12-hour brackets. Yep. I thought that was a lot more manageable, but it's rough for a few. Like myself, it was wipe and then the 12-hour drop period for me. And so like I had to pull basically a back-to-back long stream, and it really messed with my sleep schedule. And so there's a select few that will have a really wonky schedule just because their drop period doesn't line up well with when wipe hits, and you want to be on the second wipe hits. Yeah. So overall, I thought the 12-hour was much more manageable for the large majority of the streamers. 24 hours, I think 24 hours gaming and trying to put on a show just isn't the best idea. It's not super healthy
Yes.
And so I like the 12-hour ones a lot more for sure.
Yeah, you hit a good point there. You're putting on a show. It's not just sitting down and playing a video game. You've got to read chat. You've got to sort of be interactive. You got to have energy and you got to be on. It's not an easy thing to do, I'm sure, for like 24 hours.
Yeah, no, right around like hour 15, I can start to feel just a plummet. And then around hour 19, the last reserves kick in and I'm able to go for the last few hours pretty well. But that middle part, man, it's rough.
Yeah. Since, starting streaming, you've got Twitch partner. What, do you remember your partner story? What, where you were when you got the notification? Was it a big thing to get that for you?
I had the opportunity to apply for a while. I held off. I wanted to make sure my average viewership was up over 100. And I had a pretty set idea on like how I was wanting to tackle the growth. And I basically put that out into, 5 different paragraphs explaining like basically what I told you on like where I started and how I ended up streaming and then the plans moving forward and why I would be a good pick for the partner program. And so I feel like when you go to apply for partner, it's a lot more of what you say in the application than it is the numbers, because I've seen a lot of people with well over the 75 average CCV get declined, and I've seen people with 75 average CCV get accepted. And so I feel like it's a lot more about what you say and how you present yourself as a broadcaster, as a product, if you will, for Twitch. And I was pretty confident in my application. And so whenever I got the acceptance letter, I only applied once.
Wow.
So I was pretty confident with it.
Yeah, you're prepared.
I was prepared. And even if I didn't, it wasn't the end all be all.
Right.
I was honestly prepared to get declined. And so just because that's kind of how it goes, they usually decline you for the first one or the second one, and then you get accepted on the third or fourth. But I was confident with it, and if it didn't work out, then it didn't work out, and I just keep applying later on.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that big of a thing for me personally, but it was a good milestone to hit.
Right.
That was it was a feels good moment. For sure.
It sort of validates that you're doing something right. And now, since you hit go live, what's been some of the highlights, some of the memorable moments, that you look back, it's like, wow, I can't believe I did that, or I can't believe this community. What are some of the, like you just said, the feel good moments?
Winning my first Twitch rivals, both Twitch rivals that I've been in, winning one of them with Adam, the guy that I duoed with for the Paris event.
Yep.
That was cool. Him and Geeksay, we won the first Twitch rivals that we were in, and then
was that the one with you guys won the Doritos?
Yeah,
I remember Geeks talking about that. Yeah.
Yep. I ended up eating we won a year-long supply of Doritos, and I ate like maybe the first month and a half's worth. And then I was like, I don't want any more Doritos. Like, I'm good with the Doritos. So they'd send a box of them, and it'd be 41 bags. And I would just take that box and go deliver it to the food pantry down the street. And so that was cool. And I just do that each month.
Yeah.
And so, but that Twitch Rivals event, and then the most recent Twitch Rivals event, getting to play with Lvndmark and Willerz, because when I first started out streaming, they were two streamers that I looked up to big time. I was like, these guys, their skill level is just through the roof, and their work ethic is even better. And I was like, I want to emulate that. I want to work hard and be a good player while I'm doing it. And so getting to play alongside them, that was amazing. Something I'll cherish for a long time. Just that day in general was a great day. And then getting to play Arena at Twitchcon and getting to play in the various tournaments throughout the years that I've been streaming have been awesome. I'm a competitor through and through. And so a lot of those have been really cool. And of course, being a part of the Twitch drops and stuff for BSG.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And now, for that person maybe listening and thinking about hitting the go live button, what kind of advice do you have for them?
I think one of my favorite quotes with that is, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. And so just hit that go live button, and you'll learn as you go. And if it ends up taking off, awesome. But as long as you're enjoying yourself, then no time wasted, right?
Yeah.
And so pick a game that you enjoy playing, and just have fun with it.
Yeah.
and it'll work itself out if it's meant to be.
And now, how important is consistency from a scheduling standpoint to to gain momentum and try to grow a community?
I think it's extremely important. I like, with your favorite TV show, if you wanted to go watch it. I know nowadays it's kind of different when like Netflix and stuff being able to select at any time, but if you expected that show to be on at a certain time, that show better be on at that certain time. It's hard to be a fan of a show that you have no clue when it's going to turn on, when it's going to broadcast. And so setting a schedule and sticking to it, I think, is step one when it comes to streaming.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a crazy amount, but having a set schedule goes a really long way with growing an audience.
And now, when it comes to other platforms, YouTube, TikToks, do you do much in those areas?
I didn't when I first started out.
Yeah.
I was much more Twitch, full send. Let's get it done. Recently, I've been working with editors that have been a major help because I don't find passion in editing. It's just not my forte. I can do it. I know how to do it. I just don't like to do it, and so it ends up being more of a chore for me, and I procrastinate on it. And that's one thing that I was not ever able to set a schedule and stick to it with. And so. Yeah, I didn't see a whole lot of growth when I did it, and that's even more demoralizing. And so working with an editor that his passion matches my passion on Twitch, but his passion for YouTube matches mine with and so it's a great partnership there. He knows what he's doing, and I feel very confident with working with him on that front. And I've seen major growth. So I would highly recommend utilizing other social medias, especially like the short form content for TikTok and YouTube. They're very easy to edit as a whole. Long form you can tackle later, but short form, it's a very easy way to reach the masses. And that one, I'd say at the very least, that's one that I do regret not tackling much earlier. But the long form, I don't think I ever would have been able to do it on my own. It's just not for me.
Yeah. No, and when Pest was on, he was talking about that's one of the things he regrets, not hiring an editor earlier to do that stuff, because it's just it's
hard to find a one that matches what you're looking for as well. Because I'd worked with a few and they were good editors. They were good guys. They just weren't the right fit for me and what I was looking for. And for a lot of people, myself included in that, like, we don't know what we're looking for even when it comes to it. We don't know what's a fair pay. We don't know how to go about picking the right one. And so, you go to Fiverr and try to find one, but do they know Tarkov, right? The first people I worked with, their first video they sent me back had slow motion kills of me killing scabs. And for those of you who don't know, scabs in the game, they're very low level AI, and they should not ever be in a highlight clip, yet alone slow motioned, like it was some epic kill. And so I always, it's funny looking back on it, but in the moment I was like, yeah, this isn't gonna work out. And so it's hard to find the right editor that not only likes your content but knows Tarkov and knows how to edit and knows YouTube and TikTok. And so the whole shebang, it's a hard thing to find, but once you find the right one, it's a game changer for sure.
I think something that people don't realize is just the mental aspect, the mental health aspect of it, you've got to take care of yourself. You can't just be grinding away 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, 6 days a week, and not taking breaks and doing other things.
Twitchcon made me realize that I hadn't taken a break for such a long time. Not like, I take a day off here and there. And I think it's hard to take an actual day off as well, because with this job, you can always be growing. 24/7, you could be doing something that can help your channel grow. And, when I worked a day job and I was clocking in and out, once I was clocked out, my brain didn't think about that job in the slightest. It was the easiest thing to not think about when I wasn't at work. And with Twitch or with streaming, I can't shut my brain off from it. It's damn near impossible to be like, okay, let's not think about it and focus on just doing other stuff. And recently I've been much better about it, especially after TwitchCon, and how revitalized I felt whenever I got back, I was like, okay, you know, this solidified in my mind just how important taking days off, like actual days off, are. There's a lot of times when I take a day off, it's still doing behind the scenes stuff and knocking out, you know, if I'm not doing Twitch stuff, it's doing IRL stuff like laundry and chores and making sure all the bills are paid and stuff. So it's not even a day off in that sense. So yeah, it takes a mental toll on you after a while, and having that healthy work-life balance is super important. Yeah.
You know, 2 points that you sort of hit on there is, you know, sort of got to build yourself in vacations or breaks, because the other thing you got to try to separate from is, you know, if I'm not on screen, I'm not growing. I'm not, you know, it's a tough thing to do, because, you know, you do take a hit on viewership. When you know, a lot of creators have been on talk about they go away for 4 or 5 days, they come back, the numbers down, and it just gets in your head.
Yeah. And that's where YouTube comes into play too. Like if you have YouTube content scheduled out, you could be putting out long form content and or short form content, and you can be growing on that front. And so even though I'll be away for the 4 or 5 days, I'll still be growing the channel. And so without YouTube, it was really hard to step away. But now that my YouTube's doing better, it's going to be much easier to take some days off. In February, it'll be my first vacation, not counting Twitch. I don't really count Twitchcon as a vacation. That was a work vacation, if you will. But yeah, February is going to be my first vacation since I started streaming.
And where are you going?
Italy.
Oh, nice. Let's talk Tarkov. You know, what was the hook for you when you fired it up? You said you spent like the whole weekend just, you know, immersed in it.
I think it was the immersion itself. It's a game that really puts you in the moment. It makes you feel like you're actually in the game itself. And it's the only game that's, besides like racing games, for whatever reason, but it's the only game that's got me like actually like dodging IRL, trying to get out of the way of bullets. Like with racing games, you know, I lean into the turns, but with Tarkov, it's the only FPS game that's got me so immersed that it makes me feel like I actually have to dodge the stuff myself. And so I think the immersion and then the loot aspect, I really like the spoils go to the victor aspect of it. And so going into a raid, fighting over that loot, and then whoever wins that fight gets to take it all back to their stash. It resonates with me, you know, like I'm a dragon. I want to keep my gold and stay on top of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but you're so right with that immersion Tarkov gives you. I remember being in interchange at night, 3 guys walked by, my heart's racing. No game does that.
Yeah, no, it's and it's a game that you can commit a lot of hours to and still be learning something new. Like I was playing reserve is yesterday or the day before, and found 2 crates that I could search through the fence that previously I was jumping over the fence to go loot them. It's like I literally could have just searched through the fence the entire time. And I was like, dang, you know, I have 13,000 hours in this game and I still am learning something new every single day. And so it's something you can always be improving on, which I like, because I like committing hours to a game. I don't want to play for 50 hours and then be done. I want to play for 10,000 plus hours and still be one to play. And Tarkov's one of those games for sure.
Absolutely. And Tarkov also, I found, creates these flashbulb moments, these memories that like I can still remember certain raids that happened. Like it was like a cat and mouse raid was 40 minutes on, you know, on woods. And I don't, other games don't do that for me.
Yeah, no. I agree entirely.
Anything that sticks out for you? Any like memories of like, wow, that engagement?
Oh gosh, there's just so many. I would say this is like back when I first started, and it was on customs, and it was the first streamer I'd ran into, Baddie. And I was over by the warehouse that you now that you turn power on. I don't think power was in back then. It was because there was no stronghold, but it was back. I was by those warehouses, and Baddie was up on the rocks above gas station. And we were having a sniper fight, and it was like the most intense sniper fight I think I've been in since then, right? And I ended up killing him, but like he tagged me up really good, and it was super intense. And I remember a ton of people coming in and was like, yo, you just killed Baddie. And I could picture that clear as day still, you know, 4 years later.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, you know, sort of what advice do you have for people coming into Tarkov? How should they approach the game? You know, now that we have that offline mode, I think that helps immensely. But, you know, how should people approach the game? Some you know, tips.
Scab it up as much as you can. I think that scabbing is a very easy way to learn the game. You know, easy,
Yes.
right? Tarkov's a very difficult game to learn, but scav raids, whenever you don't have your PMC up, I'd pick 2 maps and try to tackle those off the start. That's what I did. I picked customs and labs. This back when you didn't have the found and raid status and you could buy anything off the fleet. So it was a lot easier to tackle labs back then. Now I would not recommend it as a starter, but yeah, basically I chose 2 maps and then got those 2 down as a base. And then next wipe, I added another wipe, another map. And then the wipe after added another map. And so just pick 2 maps that you like a lot and run 1 on your scav, 1 on your PMC, and then just try to progress through the quest line. But as long as you have that home base to go back to, you can always kit up and know that you're going to at least get some sort of return on that time and get some rubles back. And and with Arena coming out, I think that's going to be a great way to practice PvP.
Oh, absolutely.
So you're going to be able to get down to the game mechanics through that and then turn around and map knowledge through just your time in Tarkov.
Yeah. And now, you know, after gone through so many wipes, do you still get those adrenaline rushes or those pucker moments?
A little bit here and there. So it's funny, yesterday someone posted a clip and I was in the middle of a conversation and ended up peeking out a door like mid-com. I heard the guy come in just subconsciously, peeked out the door, immediately headshot him and went straight back into looting in the conversation. I didn't skip a beat. And someone's like, dude, you are so desensitized to this game. It's like, this is the most insane kill I think I've seen in a long time. And you do not even bat an eye about it happening. And so I think I was just so immersed in the conversation that autopilot kicked in.
Yeah.
But there's definitely times, especially if I'm being chased, I do not like being chased. And so if I'm being chased, like, it gets my adrenaline going and my heart racing. And especially if like I'm barely making around the corner as they're making around the corner, I know I'm gonna get shot in the back at any second. It's those moments that, it still gets me going 100%. Or if I'm playing from an underdog moment, like on a scav, and I kill some Chads and I get their gear and then kill some more Chads, those I'm like, okay, like this is awesome. This is still, you know, never gets old.
No, absolutely. So now Tarkov has a uniqueness for it from a streamer standpoint is you have your stash to deal with. Now, are you one of these people that sort your stash after stream and make it all neat, or is it just you know throw everything in there and go?
I throw everything in there and go. So for a bit there, I was decent about sorting after stream. I'd go and eat and organize as I was eating. But I've been doing a lot longer streams recently. I've been thoroughly enjoying the game. It's hard to, it's the constant, I want to play just one more. And so by the time I get off stream, I'm like, okay, I'm ready for bed.
Yeah.
And so my stash has just been super messy, and it's to the point where I'm like, I have no room. I don't need to loot anymore. And then I go into raid and I loot more. So yeah, no, it's a perpetual state of mess that I let future Sheef worry about.
Nice. And now, you know, you just said you're loving the game more, you're streaming more. Last summer, it seemed like Tarkov hit a lull. And how, you know, as somebody who, you know, mains the game, how do you deal with those lulls and try to keep momentum going? Do you switch up? Do you try to find a game similar, or do you just like plow through it?
I had to swap games for a bit. It got to the point where I was getting frustrated over things that I shouldn't get frustrated over, honestly. And I've burned myself out on 2 games before. League of Legends, that was more so the community than the game.
Yeah.
And then PuBG. Like PuBG, I love the game, and now I can't play it. Like I tried and to play it after I stopped playing it, and I just didn't have a single bit of fun.
Yeah.
And like that's the whole point in playing video games, right? Is to have fun.
Exactly.
And I now can recognize the signs of burnout a little better. And I noticed it last summer that I was like, yeah, I'm gonna burn myself out if I keep playing right now.
Yeah.
And so I took a break and played Apex, grinded some rank on that, and then played there's a game like PuBG, funny enough, Super People.
Oh, okay.
And Super People was enough of it's like Apex and PuBG had a baby.
Yeah.
But I played those for a little bit, not too long, but long enough to take a break from Tarkov and get back into it. And that was about the only time that I came even close to burning out on Tarkov, and it wasn't that bad. You know, I took like a week-long break to play Super People. They had a bunch of tournaments going on, so that preoccupied me. And then it was like maybe 2 or 3 weeks on Apex, and then I was ready to be back into Tarkov.
Nice. Now, Do you prefer to roll solo or with a squad?
Solo is easier for stream, I'd say, just because of the downtime with Tarkov.
Yeah.
There, if one of us dies, then you're sitting there kind of waiting for a long time, and then the other person feels obligated to have to get out quick. And
Right.
I find it much easier to talk to chat as well. I really tried to focus on being communicative with the chat, and so I think solo makes it a lot easier to do that.
Yeah.
But I am much more of a games are better with friends type of person, and so that's one thing I'm excited for with Arena, because they took out a lot of that downtime. I'm not having to re-kit, and the queue should be a lot quicker, because the queue system with Tarkov, the thing that takes so long is you having to wait on other people to load up the game, and so the one person that doesn't have a high-end PC ends up slowing everyone down, which is totally understandable. But with Arena, it should be a lot easier to load. Smaller maps, not a bunch of AI running around, not a bunch of loot that has to be generated. And so much quicker queue times with no downtime on having to re-kit and re-queue. Yeah. I think that I'll be playing a lot more with friends in Arena than I would on Tarkov. Tarkov is a better game maybe as a duo, but then trying to find the right duos can be a challenge with time frames and play styles and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And this, I can't remember if it was Deadly or Pest when they were on. They were talking about how Tarkov is like just the perfect game to stream, because you have your moments where you can interact and engage with chat while you're loading in or you're in your stash. Moments where it's you've got gameplay while you're in raid, and when you come out, it's just it's a nice balance. Yep,
it especially on Twitch with the ads and everything. Even there's the downtime during the loading screen that you can run the ads, and they don't miss out on any actual content, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And especially when you first start streaming, having TTV in your in-game name is such a major boost, because the kills are so personable on Tarkov. If you die to someone or kill them and they see TTV, there's a good chance they'll swing by and say hi. And it's just a chance to make a new friend a lot of times.
Yeah.
And so I think that I'd agree it is the perfect game to stream.
Yep, absolutely. And now, what's your opinion on the state of the game today? We're on the cusp of having Arena drop. We've got our annual New Year's Christmas thing going on, hopefully, and with a wipe as well.
I mean, there's obviously, it's not a perfect game, right? No. There's obviously issues with it, and there's things that could be improved. And I think that as a whole, Tarkov is such a great game that there's certain aspects of it that are unlike any other, and they're S tier. And since those are so highly rated and appreciated, everyone else holds every other aspect of the game at that same tier.
Yeah.
And so, because like the Immersion's S tier, audio gets put on an S tier scale and graded at that. And so it's not a perfect game by any means, but I do think it's the best game on the market right now for me personally. It, like I mentioned earlier, it checks all the boxes. And so I'm able to play it for long periods of time and still look forward to playing it the next day and the next day and the next day. So I think it's one of the best games on the market, even with all of its flaws. And I am hopeful that they're able to iron out some of those flaws. And if they are, then, holy cow, it's going to be even better, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that the state of the game as a whole is still a perfect game for me personally.
Yeah. Well, and the way I look at it, I've got a couple of thousand hours in it. You've got a whole lot more. The game, from a financial standpoint, it really doesn't owe us anything,
No, it's the best investment I've ever made in terms of a video game. Like hours of fun had to dollars spent, it's unmatched.
Yeah. And I think part of the reason people get so uptight or maybe just bummed about it is because nothing out there like it is like it, and we just love the game.
Yeah, that passion, it goes hard. And so, and a lot of the criticisms are founded in that passion.
Yeah.
If they weren't so passionate about the game, they wouldn't care. They would just go play a different game. But since they are so passionate about the game, it leads to those frustrations, and the frustrations build up, and then it gets voiced in maybe not the best way possible, but it's still passion. Yeah. And I can respect that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, like we just talked about a little bit, Arena's coming. You got to, taste it at TwitchCon. What was your thoughts on it?
So I didn't get to play like a crazy amount. Since we were competing, they only allowed us to play during the competition. We weren't allowed to like play any of the PCs that they set up for the people there to play.
Yeah.
And so the main thing I was looking for was do I have fun? Does it leave me with a taste to want to play more,
Yeah.
or a thirst to want to play more? And it did. It was good, quick paced, and good action. And I think like the amount of fights you'll be able to get into in a short period of time will be more than what you're going to find in Tarkov in a full day, of people that are actually like looking to fight. Because Tarkov, it's not only about the PvP.
Right.
There's a lot of people going in for questing or loot or one reason or another that's not PvP. Totally understandable. But with Arena, that's the main objective, is PvP. You kill your opponent to win the game. And so you'll get in more fights with other opponents that are looking for the same objective in a short period of time. And they were fun fights, and it left me wanting to play more. I had fun. And so that was the thing I was looking for. It checked that box.
Nice. Now, do you have your team already picked up, ready to go?
No, I'm just kind of leaving that open in terms of like wanting to play with all the homies that I haven't gotten to play Tarkov with in nearly as much as I would like to. But ideally, I'd love to play with Lvndmark and Willerz again. I think that would be a killer squad.
Yeah.
It all depends on how many ranked people you can go in with. Is it going to be, the League of Legends format that you can only have a duo and you're queuing into a 5-man group, or can you have a full 5-man group going into ranked? And so if it's a full 5-man group, that opens up a lot of doors. But if it's a duo, then I would look for Lvndmark, Willerz, Adam, GG, Dunk, or shoot, there's so many good players. There's so many good players. Yeah. And so I don't have any set team though.
Now, speaking of TwitchCon, was Vegas your first TwitchCon, or did you hit San Diego as well?
No, that was my first TwitchCon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my first experience. I had been to gaming conventions. I went to PAX West and PAX East. And those were awesome. I've been to DreamHack before. Yeah. And so I've been to gaming conventions, but TwitchCon was different, especially going as a partner. Yeah. It was cool. It was really cool.
And this is something I ask of, the partners have been on that hit TwitchCons. It's really unique because as a first TwitchCon goer, you turn to your left and there's people from your community looking at you as, you're like, Sheef. And then you turn over here and there's your, like you were saying earlier, the Willerz, the Lvndmarks. And it's a unique experience it has to be.
Yeah, no, it was something else. It was something else. It made me realize that I need to work on my signature, and that's not something that I had ever really thought of. Yeah. And so it was very eye opening to me. It was an awesome experience that I won't ever forget, honestly. So. Yeah.
And then also added on to the TwitchCon, you had BSG there, Nikita and the crew. What was that like, seeing them and meeting all of them?
They were cool guys. They were really cool guys. It was a little intimidating. Yeah. Especially like meeting Nikita and Dimitri and Apple and just the whole crew. But man, they were really hands-on, and getting to talk to them in person, you could see the passion and a little bit more of their vision for what they wanted to accomplish. And it was cool. It was... It wasn't what I was expecting, and I don't know really what I expected, but it was great to meet him. Nikita, man, he's funny. He is a unique character, to say the least, and so, but it was cool. They were all really good guys, and it made me hopeful for the future of Tarkov. For sure.
Absolutely. Now, were you there? Were you part of the event where the tank? I think Jesse was in the tank. Or...
Yeah. Yep. That was interesting too. So we got to go to the shooting range, and I had never shot, I've shot pistols and shotguns before. Yeah. Being from Oklahoma, it's right. kind of a growing up moment, but I'd never shot like a full auto weapon or like a sniper, and I ended up shooting like an MCX and the G36C, the Dragunov, a Benelli shotgun, a USP, a 5.7, and a Glock. And dude, it was so cool. I didn't really like the Glock. Yeah. The Glock wasn't for me, but all the other guns, man, it was crazy. I could see how people are like really into it. I was like, damn, like I want to get an MCX.
The thing that always catches me off guard is when you're holding a rifle like that, or an M4, that weight of it. It just, it's like you think about running around, what real soldiers are doing, CQB. That's that is not easy.
Yeah, no, for real. And when I'd watch like zombie movies, I'm like, how does that person miss? Like, I would be dropping these fools. And after shooting in person, I was like, all right, I mean, like, yeah, maybe after some training, I'd be dropping these fools. But no, I could see where, especially if they're like running at you or something in the heat of the moment, it's like, okay, it's like I could see it. It makes sense now, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, coming away from TwitchCon, what was the highlight? If there's one moment that you look back on, it's like that was awesome.
I would say going to the after party that Nikita DJ'd at.
Oh, okay.
He's actually good, dude. It was impressive. I know he DJ'd.
Yeah.
We saw him do it at I think the Paris event, and it was funny. I was on stream and I was playing Lighthouse, and someone's like, "Oh, the BSG podcast startup or the stream startup," and I tuned into it, and it's DJ on the set, just like DJing, or Nikita on the set DJing, and I was like, "Holy cow, this dude, this is funny." And I knew he did like the in-game music and stuff, so I knew he had a musical background.
Yep.
But dude, he killed it at the Vegas event. He did so well. Like, I was so thoroughly impressed. And just that whole after party and each night was fun.
Yeah.
It was cool getting to see all the people that I had been friends with for a long time, and getting to meet them in person and actually hang out with them was really cool.
Nice.
I'd say that, and then of course, being on stage playing arena alongside Gingy and Willerz and Stank and Clean, and against some friends, it was cool. I'd say that one of the highlights was actually the first day. It was Lvndmark's team versus Gino's team, and the first game was 6-0 Gino or 7-0 Gino. They dominated.
Yep.
Second game, 7-0 Lvndmark. Lvndmark's team dominated, and then game 3 it went, I'm getting chills thinking about it, went 7-6, and I mean, it was back and forth, and Lvndmark's team with the crazy comeback. I was on the edge of my seat, and every single time Gentacles got a kill, I was so fucking hyped for her, because she's so cool and so humble and funny, and she tore it up. Tore it up, and so it was a moment in my mind where it clicked. I'm like, okay, like I watch a lot of esports, like I am passionate about esports, and I could see this doing well. Like, this has me on the edge of my seat. The atmosphere and everyone were on the edge of their seats, and I think that was the perfect showcase for the potential for Tarkov or arena esports. It was electrifying.
Well, and that says a lot, coming from your background, being competitive on PuBG and, playing in worldwide tournaments. And you're just talking about how you're getting, your goosebumps thinking about, that encounter at Vegas. So, so Tarkov really, the arena has a real chance of being a good competitive gaming scene.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. It's a very difficult thing to tackle, right? Like, there's very few games that have been able to do it successfully, and so the odds are stacked against them on that front, just because it's a very, very difficult thing to do. But I think that there is potential for sure, especially if they put forward passion towards it and put a lot of effort into growing that scene, which I think they're trying to do, right? Yeah. And if they foster a good community, which I would say they've done successfully so far with Tarkov, I could see it doing well. It's got to have the interest in viewership first and foremost. So we'll see once the game releases how it'll do on that front. But if there's that interest, and then there's the backing from BSG, I think it could go a long way.
Nice. And, just touching on, you talked about Tarkov community. I jumped into this community a few years ago, and there's no other community like it. You have creators big and small playing together. It's just, I really, you have some bad apples, but I think for the most part, we've got a good space here.
Yeah, I agree entirely. It's so, I can't speak for too many communities as a whole, but what I've noticed in a lot of other communities, at the end of the stream, they usually aren't rating other people. They're not sharing their community within the community.
Oh, really?
And it's it's understandable, right? There's nothing that says like you need to, but I'd say more often than not, when a Tarkov stream ends, you're getting sent to another Tarkov streamer.
Yeah.
And man, that was a huge moment for me personally, having other people, large creators, share their community with me as a small streamer. It was what made it possible for me to do this for a living, and I'll be forever grateful for it for sure. And so yeah, I think that fosters a lot of a tight knit community, and there's a lot of good people in the Tarkov community for sure.
Absolutely. And the other thing I'm always impressed by is the amount of charity work that's done by the Tarkov community and the creators that are in this community. And I think you've done some charity work too in the past as well, right?
Right. Yeah. So Pestily and Dr. Lupo were big inspirations of mine for that. Whenever I saw it was one of Dr. Lupo's streams, and dude, before he got off the starting soon screen, he had already raised like several $100,000.
Wow.
I was just like, holy cow, this is so cool.
Yeah.
Like, I want to do this. I want to do this. And, Pestily hit over that million mark. And I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was something along the lines of like, he's like, I've accomplished a major goal here, and anything else I do is just icing on the cake,
right?
Essentially, right? And so I was like, that, I want that. That's one of my goals. I want to hit that million mark. And just recently this year, we hit over the 100,000 mark, and so 50,000 raised for St. Jude and 50,000 raised for Save the Children.
That's awesome.
Which is why I ended up getting this Tarkov tattoo.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that one. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was one of the stretch goals, which the community crushed so quickly. I probably should have put it up at a higher amount, because the goals after that were not nearly as cool as a tattoo. So the scaling wasn't there, but lesson learned.
Yeah.
And I love the tattoo. And so I would love to get another one even, but it was something special for me on like, okay, if we hit this mark, I'll go get a Tarkov tattoo. And so, yeah, it was cool. It was a dream come true to hit that 100,000 mark. And it's going to be even cooler to hit that million mark, and then the 10 million mark, and then, eventually 100 million mark by the time I'm done streaming.
Yeah. Isn't it the coolest feeling? Like you're if you think about that, through gaming, you and your community raised $100,000.
Yeah,
it's just wild.
Yeah, no, it's hard. So I didn't grow up wealthy, right? And so $100,000 is a hard number to wrap my mind around. Right. And so yeah, it was a very cool moment to be able to call my mom and be like, hey, we hit it. Yeah. We reached the 100,000, and so yeah, no, it's still just mind blowing to me.
And what do mom and dad think of this whole thing? Like, here you are going through school to be a lawyer, and now you're a gamer. Do they like, okay, just, we got you?
Yeah, they super supportive, man. Anything I'd ever choose to do, they have been backing me 100% all throughout my life. Yeah. I couldn't ask for better parents, honestly. Awesome. And so, they still tune into the stream, and yeah, no, they're my best friends. They're great people, and so I couldn't ask for better parents.
Excellent. And that's, that seems to be a common factor into the creators that have been successful, having, whether it's the spouse or the parents behind them being supportive. It's such a key, important thing for success, I think.
Yeah. It definitely made it easier on my end, because it's stressful, man. It can be, there's a lot of ups and downs, and a lot of the unknown, and life in general can be really stressful. And so having someone in your corner, man, it goes a long way. It really does.
Absolutely. And now, speaking stressful, you guys almost tempted the destruction of mankind out at TwitchCon. When you and Ash touch mustaches, that's like crossing streams in Ghostbusters,
Yeah. He sent me the video of him testing positive for COVID when he got home too, and I was just like, oh no. You gotta be kidding me. And yeah, I ended up being totally fine. My immune system, super Chad like, I guess. But yeah, no, it was he's one of the best content creators I think I've seen in a very long time, man. His skill is unmatched in terms of being able to make a moment funny and then put out the content to other platforms in the appropriate formats. And man, he is good at what he does.
Absolutely. And even casting, I think he did some casting events too. And he was just like, he's funny, informative. It's just, he seemed like he has a natural for that aspect of it too.
Yeah, 100%. His comedic timing is very, very good.
Yeah. And now, how would you describe a Sheef stream? If somebody hasn't watched you before, they're coming in, what are they in for?
It depends on the day. I'd say as a whole, if you want to learn Tarkov, it's a good stream to stop by. I'm more than happy to answer questions and I try to take the time during stream to explain like the thought process behind why I'm doing what, and what was successful about that game versus what wasn't, what I could have done better. And so as a whole, I'd say maybe a chill educational environment, and a friendly community that's welcoming.
Excellent. And what is Armed and Dangerous? I see that on your Twitch page there.
It's just a group of friends that are all streamers. I wanted to it was a collective group that made it, but I wanted to hit them up and see if they wanted to create a stream team that just supported each other, and that way we could have a group of friends that could bounce back and forth questions, because a lot of the times, man, like for me personally, I can only speak on my end, but I didn't know my own worth as a content creator. I didn't know what to tell sponsors, or like how much was I getting paid correctly, right? And then content ideas, bouncing back and forth those, and support for big events and the raids and everything. And it was nice to have a collective group of friends that I could trust their opinions on it, and being able to talk openly about these subjects is very important. And so that was the main goal with Armed and Dangerous, was just to get a group of like-minded individuals that were all on the same career path, that wanted the same thing, together to be able to talk about these things. And so I couldn't pick a better group of people, man. They have just been so crazily supportive, and they were supportive even before we made the stream team. Gingy, I mean, she has legitimately been one of my biggest supporters in terms of helping my channel grow and looking out for me as a content creator from when I was like 15 average viewers, man, and she'd have like 1,000 plus. And so for her to take the time out of her day to help me out was crazy. And Will too, which I was friends with him in Colorado. We lived close enough to each other to hang out IRL. I mean, I've hung out with him more in person than I have played Tarkov with, which is funny to say, but man, he is such a good person. He's the exact same guy off stream as he is on stream, and what you see is what you get, and he's just a good guy through and through. And so having their support, and then Toastrack and Wick and Axel, man, I couldn't ask for a better group of friends to do this journey with, honestly.
Toastrack is oh man, that you can't find nobody nice as him, man. He's just a big heart, you know. My God,
he's the goal. That's what I shoot for, in trying to be just a good person to others. Toastrack is that goal.
When he was on, he was talking about when he was doing his normal editing job, traveling the world, he'd take an Xbox with him on the road. It's like, dude, that's hardcore gamer right there.
Oh, I'd have to do that, or like a gaming laptop or something. I could not ever do a job where I'd be away from gaming for too long. It's just I am through and through a gamer.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So now, when you disconnect for the day, what are some things you do away from the stream? You said you hang out with Will sometimes. Do you guys do some car stuff?
So since I moved back to Oklahoma, I haven't been able to hang out with Will.
Right,
but we would go to concerts or car stuff. Went to a couple car events, and then for just me personally, I mean, I like going to the movies. And so just anything to relax and disconnect off stream is helpful, and movies are a great way to do that. I have been meaning to get back into competitive like sports, so like I want to join a soccer league and play Sunday games with them, and then I want to go to the gym and play pickup games for basketball. And there's a dodgeball league at the local gym too, and so I've been trying to convince my sister. Well, they want to. It was very easy to convince. I basically mentioned it, and they're like, yeah, let's do it. And so we're waiting for the next season to start, and my sister and her husband are going to join, and then they've got some friends, and so we're going to start a dodgeball team and do that. But
excellent.
I mean, pretty much just that. I stream a whole lot, and so trying to find that work-life balance, it's an ever-evolving thing. And so
cool.
Getting better with it. All
right. So any goals for this upcoming year? Anything that you're looking forward to besides Arena?
So I want to hit if Arena has a good leaderboard, I want to hit the #1 rank for that. So I am a rank grinder. I will put a lot of time and effort into getting to the highest rank, and then I want to go on another vacation outside of the one from Italy.
Yeah.
That was on my goal list for this year. I ended up doing TwitchCon instead. I didn't know Arena was going to be at TwitchCon, so I wasn't initially intending to go. But then once I found out Arena was going to be there and got invited for the tournament, I was like, okay, let's do it. And so I put off the vacation, but next year I want to go on 2 vacations, one at the start of the year, one towards the end.
Yep.
And I want to hit 200,000 followers on Twitch and 200,000 subs on YouTube. And so those would probably be the goals number wise.
Yep.
And then I guess just do more IRL stuff. I want to hit that healthy work-life balance. Like that's the main goal.
Excellent.
And I want to get back into the gym and do more physical activities.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the work-life balance as well.
Yeah. All right, Sheef. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate you coming on and taking the time. But before I go, like with other guests, I ask them to shout out somebody that they think would have a cool story to come on the pod.
How about Axel?
All right.
We'll pick Axel. Or you said Toastrack's been on as well.
Toastrack. So yeah, let's get Axel.
Axel would be the next one, I'd say.
Perfect. All right, Sheef. Well, thank you so much, man, and have a good holiday season.
Yeah, dude, thank you. This was a blast. It was an absolute pleasure. So thank you so much for having me.